All right. All right. So, here's the deal. Just to very, very quickly reiterate everything we've done over the past 2 days. Really quickly, let's do this. Let's do a circle in the upper right-hand corner. Do a square below it somewhere. Do a funny angular shape. And do a funny curvy shape. Cool? If you would, after you draw these shapes on, go ahead and pull all of those back to your one singular point. I'll do it along with you. Cool? Awesome? Cool. All right. So, moving forward. So here's the deal. Slowly but surely, inevitably, what we're working towards is the ability to take these kind of random, popping shapes, right? And actually make something out of them. So, for example, let's do this. Go ahead and make a nice big old square. Just like a good, whoa, this is too big. A good big old size square. Maybe like a half of your page size. Something like that. Whenever you've done that, go ahead and do a big X across going from corner to corner. And again, do it really lightly. It doesn't have to be too heavy-handed or anything like that. After you've done that, then if you would, basically we're going to have that intersection in the middle there. That's going to be our 1-point perspective dot. Okay, so we're going to assume that, in essence, this square are kind of like the edges of our page, but we're putting it within something. We're kind of containing it. And then we're kind of telling ourselves where that center point is. Now, in the future, you are welcome, as I showed you in some of those examples during our lecture, you're welcome to move this dot wherever the heck you want to, and it will change where your horizon line is. Right? We talked about that before. But again, for today, we're going to stick right into the center. It's going to make things significantly easier for you. So here's the deal. What we're going to be working on is constructing the interior of a room, how we would see it, maybe like a hallway. Now, when you were a kid, you very well might have, I know for myself I did all the time, I used to take, I'd draw like a square in the corner of some textbook or something, right? And I put like a little square in the back, and you do one of these, and then it kind of looks like a hallway, right? Like you're going back. Or maybe it looks like it's coming out at you as well, depending on how your eyes pop. And I used to have fun because I'd be like, oh boy, I'll put a door here and a window there, and it's, oh boy, there's a room. I'm an artist. The problem is, again, this is cute and all, but really, to be fair, it's not correct. Nothing's going back to the center dot. It's all really off, and I'm going to explain to you why it's off in a second. So let's do this. As far back as you'd like to, I don't really care where. You can have it really up close if you want to have a shallow hallway, or really far back there is fine by me. But go ahead and enclose your space. We're going to say basically this is the back wall that we're looking at. So kind of draw a square, and notice that my square's points line up to that intersection of where that dot would be. So in essence, we've got our focal point, or our vanishing point, right smack in the center of the back wall. So we're kind of setting our scene. Again, it doesn't have to be perfect or anything. This is just kind of a sketch. Okay. And similar to my little kid doodle that I have off here in the corner, if you notice, right, I'm going to use this intersection here, and I'm going to pull these lines nice and bold. So from corner of the room to corner of the room. So just like that little kid drawing, basically looks the same, depending on how your eyes kind of pop, and I could add some shadow and stuff to really enforce it. I could have this look like it's popping out at us or popping in at us. Kind of a quick little illusion. Okay, now, here's where the fun comes in, and I know you're thinking, surely this can't be fun. Here's the deal. Imagine for a second, because we know how to do cubes, and like we did, yesterday we did like L-shaped things, right? And we took that L shape and we took it back into space, and it was a whole fun time. Imagine for a second, everything that you see, we already know how to block in, because we've done blocking in with our still life project, right? But if I wanted to take these kind of child cubes, and in case you're wondering, they're actually just pieces of wood that I cut. Take these cubes. I could, if I bend this around here, hang on, don't get vertigo on me now, ready? Whoa! That was like a special effect. I can take these, and if I wanted to make like a chair, you know, that looks like a chair. I can put like a little dude in my chair. There he is, looking cool. If I wanted to make like a bed, maybe, right? Okay, how would a bed? Well, yeah, it's kind of a bed, and my dude's going to sleep now. It's great. Looks like a weird little turd. So that's right, kids. When you're an art teacher, you get to play with eraser turds. So again, you can very quickly, just in your own brain, kind of imagine, if I wanted to make an object, just like when you were a kid, you can pretty easily use squares to kind of build whatever the heck you want to build, right? So we're going to do basically that exact same thing. If we want to make a piece of furniture for our room, we need to think about that piece of furniture as these kind of cube forms, and then we can add detail to them from there. I'll show you what I mean. There we go. Wow, Hitchcock has got nothing on my film skills. Okay, here we go. So first things first, this is going to be, I'm going to have you guys draw literally the room that I have right here. So whatever I put in, you'll put in, just to kind of follow along. And I'm going to draw, from memory of course, what my actual house looks like. There's no way this could be a setup for a joke. That would be insane. Okay, so here we go. My house, I have a door that I enter through on this wall. Now again, if you look at like my kid drawing, that's a door. That looks like a door, right? But look at how flat that is on top, right? Remember the rule. Perfectly straight, or back to the dot, right? So this line right here, although it's nice because it's perfectly straight, it doesn't look right. It can go back to the dot because it's going back in space, right? So what I end up with is a nice kind of vertical line, and I'm going to figure out how tall I want my door, and of course I'm a tall guy, so I'm going to go from here, just because that's where I want it to be, and I'm going to bring that back to the dot, and this weird letter H gives me a nice perspective door. Because it's angled on the top like that, it's going to look like it's actually going back into space, as opposed to having a weird flat top. Bless you. Give that a try real quick. Making sense? Right? I mean, in essence, let's be fair, it's not even really a cube, it's kind of just a sheet of paper that's been glued against my wall here. Now, I know, right? Your parents yell at you all the time because you come home, you rip the door off the hinges, and then you leave it where it's just this open, gaping hole into the outside world. That's how my house looks too. It's okay. So, if I know how to make a cube, a three-dimensional space or object going back into space, what I want to do is be able to find a way to make this look like I could see the outside. But you know as well as I do, whenever you look at an object in 3D space, you think about like a doorway, you'll see the inside of that door frame before you see, the outside world, right? So what we need to do is this. We need to make some kind of rectangular form in here. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to go just a little bit over, right? And draw a little line right there, perfectly straight, right? This is going to represent what we can see of the inside of the door frame. I'm going to take that, I'm going to go straight up with it. So, this is like the inside of our door frame that we can kind of see, where like the little lock mechanism and stuff would be. Assuming that I ripped the door off the hinges. which I do perpetually because I am the Incredible Hulk. Now, this looks good, you know, the inside of the door frame, but let's be honest, right? Wouldn't I be able to see a little bit of this top as well? Well, we can find out. Because if I take this intersection right here, and I go straight across with it, straight across there, what that leaves me with is a little teeny tiny triangle gap, right? So I'm going to convert that little gap into being able to see the upper part of the door frame. To do that, I'm going to go from this dot, I'm going to connect the back dot, our vanishing point, to the corner right there. So what I'll end up with is that right there. So now it's almost like I can kind of imagine walking into this room and maybe through this doorway. We'll talk about what's outside that doorway here in a second. And again, this is not, you know, super easy stuff. What we're doing is we're kind of showing the inside of a cube to show that depth, that hole. But again, we've talked about drawing holes already, you know, in our donuts and our cylinders and stuff. I'm just showing you a different way of thinking about it. You know what, let's do something a little bit simpler maybe. Let's backtrack for a second. In my apartment, in my house here, when I walk into my room with a gaping hole in the door, when I walk in, the first thing I see on the opposite wall here, and I don't know about you, how your house is set up, this is how mine is set up, the first thing I see is a gigantic poster of One Direction. So it's great. I just love their boyish good looks. So what I'm going to do is need to make a nice poster right here. I used to have a Nicki Minaj one, but let's be fair, I just plastered right over that with One Direction. They're just so dreamy. Their anacondas don't want none. So I'm going to, again, I'm basically going to make another door, right? Two nice little vertical lines. Only this time, the big difference is, of course, my poster's not on the ground. I would never sully One Direction like that. So instead, I'm going to give it kind of a top, again back to that line, or back to that vanishing point, right? And this time I'm going to give it kind of a bottom. See how I did that? A little bit of a bottom right there. And then, of course, kind of darken it up. So then we got kind of this square against my wall. Almost kind of looks like how you do maybe like a window too. Similar idea. And then, of course, I'm going to take the time to put the extra detail to really draw the boy band as they are. Of course, they have cute coiffed hair, though, you know. There's their logo. Okay. Wow. That's what I walk into every day. So just imagine, this is me here. I come into my room, and there they are. Oh, and I swoon a little bit. But of course, when you start swooning, what happens, right? Well, you're going to fall face first onto a couch or chair or bed, right? Something soft to break my fall as I swoon over their hunky good looks. So, what we need to do is draw we need to draw some kind of furniture in this room. Otherwise, I'm going to pass out on the floor and probably hurt myself. And that's not good, right? So let's do this. Let's put a chair like here-ish, right off to the side of the poster. So again, think about a chair for a second, right? Kind of what we talked about before with these blocks, right? Almost like Lego style, right? Now this is the worst chair in the world, but if you think about it, right? If I'm looking at the side of a chair, it's basically just an L. And you guys totally know how to make an L go back into space and then kind of cut it off, because we did that already, right? What we're going to do is we're going to put this L shape in our room, and then we're going to add a little bit of detail to make it more into a couch, right? So let's try that real quick. So in this room, I'll switch my colors here. In this room, right beyond my dreamy poster, I'm going to start, again, my couch is pushed right to the corner of the room. No one wants a couch in the middle of the room. That makes no sense. So I'm going to go straight up, straight out. I'm going to use those lines to kind of figure out, like, what's the height and width of my chair or couch. So again, imagine we're looking at just the flat side of this couch. We don't see any depth, just that flat edge. Yes, yes, it's a major concern. You would think the answer would be just go buy a door to the door that I don't have, but I really like the breeze, so I hate to get rid of it. You know, the view is great. You know, if you don't have a good window, you just break down a wall or a door, and then there's a perfectly good window now. It's great. Actually, the door that I normally come through is on this back wall, and it's a silhouette of my figure. I just walk through like this. I go, God! I just walk through the breaks like that. Okay, all right. So I've got this flat side of my couch, and again, if you haven't already thought about this, we're going to do the exact same thing as before. We're going to bring it back in space. Back in space. And then we're going to cut it off. Now, here's one thing I want to make a quick pointer for you, though, okay? Whenever you go to cut this off, you can make, a nice, good kind of lounge chair out of this. But notice, this back wall is the back wall, right? So if I cut it off way back here, it looks like my couch is like in my wall. Does that make sense? So we can't go beyond this line. So right now, like, my couch is pushed against the edge of the wall. Does that make sense a little bit? We can't go too far back, because then it, kind of breaks the room, or at least the illusion of the room. Now, I forgot to tell you one thing. I'm so very sorry. I should have told you this already. This couch, this chair that I have, and we'll add on some details here in a second. But I forgot to tell you, I was swooning so hard for One Direction when I came into my room that I had to pull out my couch. And actually, it's a convertible couch. It becomes a bed. So if you wouldn't mind, we're gonna convert this couch into a bed by extending this front side, because it like folds it out, right? It's a nice little couch here. And then of course we're gonna bring that back in space. We'll kind of extend it out. So now magically my couch sofa thing becomes a bed. It's that simple. Now again, really blocky looking bed. You would not have a good night's sleep on this, but let's be fair, I haven't had a good night's sleep in years. Okay. I don't know what that was.
Seizure?
Yeah. Okay. Am I going too fast for you guys? You doing okay? Pretty good. Okay. All right. I just want to make sure. If for some reason I go too fast, just stop me, please. Somebody stop me. All right. So I now have my wonderful fold-out bed, and we're going to transform this into a bed, not a couch, because why bother doing that? So all you need to do, I'll zoom in so you can get some cool detailed view. All we need to do at this point is kind of add some details, right? So of course my bed is going to have a pillow on it because I need to rest my bald head somewhere. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of draw on an extra little square here. I'm going to bring it back in space, of course. So I get kind of this brick that sits on top of my bed, right? Oh, you guys can see it a little bit, sorry. Right? And then all I need to do to this weird brick that my head will lie on is simply smooth it out, right? Just kind of freehand kind of round this stuff out because my pillow doesn't have edges on it, but it still does go back into space, right? To give you a better vision on what the heck I'm doing if you're not quite grasping it, let me show you here off on the side. Kind of doing like a rectangle, bringing that rectangle back into space, cutting that rectangle off, right? And then all I'm doing is I'm thinking about, okay, if this is where like my pillowcase kind of comes together, kind of this eyeball shape, goes back into space, eyeball shape. It's a little bit more like a pillow. Right? Alright, so we've got a way cool pillow. Of course I need bed sheets because what am I going to wet otherwise? See, I have a bladder issue. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to literally use that line that I already have from my original front of my couch, because why not just use it, right? And if you notice, it goes back into space here, but whenever it hits this front kind of facing us side, it goes nice and straight. The only key difference is, of course, we're going to slice it off right about here to make it look like the bed sheets kind of folding, over on top of the bed. Does that make sense? Just a line right there. Now again, let's be fair. Again, this is still a really blocky looking bed. It is not comfortable looking. You are more than welcome to kind of play around a little bit. You can really accentuate things by kind of rounding off these edges a little bit. Even if I wanted to like kind of round this back here, man, you can do a lot of cool stuff. But again, you've started off by blocking it in. So when you start by blocking it in, when you start by pulling it back into space, it's going to look pretty realistic as you start adding more and more detail to it. Okay? All right, let's skip the bed for a second. Let's do something more fun. Morier. All right. So if we're doing something more entertaining than just this bed here, we could do a TV. Let's start with something. Again, I'm drawing my actual apartment. Well, yeah, that's true. I have the poster to look at though.
It's gonna kill you.
So I'm trying to draw my actual real world apartment, of course. My apartment, I have a $3,000 Oriental rug on the ground because I invest my money wisely. So what I'm going to do real quick is show you how to draw my $3,000 Oriental rug. And it's really, really simple. If you find at any time that drawing something on the floor or the ceiling is difficult, you just turn your room and now it's on the wall. Because if you drew a poster, you can draw a rug. I'll show you how. Here we go. All you got to do is kind of start from that singular point. And I'm just going to cut it off. Maybe, you know what, my $3,000 Oriental rug actually goes underneath my bed a little bit, so I may not see the other edge. It'd be behind here somewhere. But I do see the front edge. So what I end up with is kind of like that. And now my Oriental rug, I don't know about your Oriental rugs. My Oriental rug has some way cool fringe. It's all the rage in France.
Always like crowded.
This is his room.
This is the room that I live in. I happen to live in a closet. Thank you.
So you're like.
Yes. This is my way cool fringe. Now, these are actual stairs going up. Yep. So there's my way cool Oriental rug, but of course it's not an Oriental rug unless it's got some neat, cool designs in it, right? But again, we run back into the same problem as our first grade drawing over here. How do I draw like designs, right? Like mine is speckled, it's spotted and pokey dotted. How do I do that and have those dots go back in space at the same time, right? So I'm going to show you off on the side here real quick, and then we're going to extrapolate and use that in our Oriental rugs. I'll show you what I mean. So this is my dot, right? And this is my rug right here-ish, right? What I can do is this. I'm going to grid my rug off so I have an idea of where my spheres, my polka dots are going to go. I'll show you what I mean. So if I kind of say like, and I'm just kind of eyeballing this a little bit, kind of break it down with those notches and bring those notches back to the dot. And remember, if it's going back into space, then it's going to go back to the dot. If it's not, then it's going to go perfectly horizontally. It's actually going to get a little bit smaller or excuse me, thinner as we go away. They're going to get a little more compressed. So it kind of looks like a grid or like a tile system, you know, like if you had tile in your room or something, going back into space. So what I'm going to do is lightly grid off my rug, and then I'm going to use those squares to kind of draw ovals inside of. And what that'll cause is it's going to look like that rug is pulling those polka dots back into space. Give that a try real quick. I know it's a little bit goofy to see it off on the side. It's like you're playing Guitar Hero or something. I feel like I need to like click clack on a plastic keyboard. Right? No, just me. Okay, that's fine. All right, give that a try. So we kind of like graph off our rug, and again, very lightly. And I'm gonna fill those squares in. Okay. Sorry, I'm just drawing Guitar Hero over here. Okay, so we've got my expensive, fancy rug. We've got my way cool bed. We've got my door with no door frame because I walk through doors so often. We've got my only source of entertainment, which is staring at a flat poster on my wall. I do have, in case you're wondering, you're thinking to yourself, Kozak, I'm standing in the middle of this room. It's feeling super three-dimensional, although, let's be fair, a little bit blocky. Surely there's something against that back wall. And you're right. I actually have a window against that back wall. Unfortunately, the window is boarded over because I despise daylight. It helps with my pale skin. So what we're going to do is this. Anything that's against that back wall, right? Anything that's against that back wall is going to be actually perfectly flat, right? I can't pull something back into space if it's on the back of that space. So literally, it's the super simple thing in the world. Just draw a nice little flat square, just a shape, not even a form, right? We'll do old school, you know, kindergarten window, throw on those cute blinds. Every time. What is a window without blinds, right? Or little, you know, curtains. Although, you know, if you think about it, if we're on the inside, wouldn't we see, like, the rest of them, where it kind of goes on the ground? I'm just saying, it doesn't really make any sense to just have curtains that magically stop. And of course you need a curtain rod. See, now we're into detail land and it just gets crazy confusing. There's wrinkles and fabric and I don't even know. But like I said, do remember, of course, this is my apartment. I despise sunlight, so of course we're gonna board it off just by drawing some nice boards right over the top. I just despise the outside world. It scares me. So you can board off your window. I don't know how I boarded it over top of my curtains, but I did. They're very wrinkly now to iron them later. Yes, totally. Except for the gaping door that leads to the outside. That's true. Now, yeah, I'll just push that there. Now, I forgot to mention, I recently, speaking of the gaping wall, I recently had an add-on to my apartment. I paid the extra money. I actually sold my collection of One Direction posters, other than this one. Sold them on eBay. It's good times. So if you want to draw, let's say, if I wanted to be able to walk through this door and see another room, right? It is really simple. Watch this. It's so easy, right? I'm going to take my back wall where that line is, right? I'm going to kind of keep it going a little bit. Obviously, there's a wall here, so we're kind of sketching lightly, mind you. But if I draw that line again, magically, with a simple line, it looks like I can like walk through here. This is my floor, right? My wall. It's crazy. A little bit of playing with your depth perception, and now I can walk into this add-on, which, in case you're wondering, is a wooden shack. Okay. There's a little zombie guy who's trying to get ambushed. Okay, so there's this guy. He's trying to climb in. That's actually me after a long night. I'm trying to get. I'm like, please, One Direction, help me. Anyway, all right. So this is our room. Now, keep in mind, this is a really generic, super basic, super boring room. Yours are going to be significantly more detailed than this, i.e., that blocky bed. But the key is this: even if you don't feel comfortable with your level of detail, even if you don't feel comfortable drawing a really detailed bed or couch or whatever, grand piano, remember that even if you don't feel comfortable, still block it in and bring it on back to that focal point or the vantage point there. Because even if it's going to be blocky and generic, it still should be in perspective. Is that a fair deal, right? Okay. So what we're going to do is do something way more exciting than this. And you thought this was exciting. All right, here we go. We're going to start freshie. My light fixture? I don't like light.
Yeah, he clearly blocked it off. Just turned on
All light bulb.
I use my cell phone.
night.
The real question is, where's the bathroom?
No, Mr. Kozak is just, he illuminates the room. Well,
Yes, my own personal light.
He just pushes the bed sheet.
Mm-hmm.
no, it works.
Like I said, I have an incontinence problem. Okay, so there we go. So we're gonna start off nice and fresh. Give yourself a dot. Yep. Oh, rest assured, 90% of the stuff that I teach you is college level.
I know what girls are like. It's like, yeah, bench. No, we have a different name. We have 1% of that is. We both agree.
Yeah, that's fine.
I like this. I like your name.
Like I said, it's the same thing with like still life. This is kind of the opposite of still life, like I said, right? It's very, there's a right answer, and yet you can be a lot more creative with your drawings. Whereas the other one, you can't be as creative because you're drawing something in real life, and yet it's a lot more fluid. So we're using different parts of our brain every day.
Troy, I just realized.
A super what? Yeah. Kind of.
I'm going into your personal business.
Yeah, we'll do some cartoon stuff. Okay, here we go. You ready?
You just have one.
Here we go. So, you've got yourself a brandy new dot. Now, I'm going to let you choose. I don't really care. We're going to do some lettering going back into space. Okay, we're going to actually write something, and it's going to go back into space like a banner coming at us or something. You can do it on the right hand, the left hand, the bottom, or the top. I do not care. I'm going to do mine on the right-hand side, because I'm right-handed. I guess that's as good of enough of a reason as anything. So, first things first. Again, we're going to pretend that this text is written on some gigantic, really long poster. So I have to start with that poster, and I have to bring that poster kind of back into space. And then, of course, cut it off. So this becomes kind of my framework that I'm building within, right? This trapezoidal shape is going way back in space. Bless you. Awesome. Yeah. Okay, so before we go any further on putting our text onto this thing, right? I'm gonna have you guys kind of shift over just for a second. This is nothing to do with our 1-point perspective. This is just kind of a test real quick. Draw just a regular old rectangle. It's gonna be kind of our tester, right? So if I was looking at this poster head on, like I'm facing the poster that we're gonna eventually take back into space, we need to figure out how it would look like normally, just everyday normal style. And we have to think about what the poster says, right? Of course, we have to think about what it says. So you can go ahead and pick any word that you'd like, one singular word. I would suggest that it's like maybe 5 letters or less. Anything more than that for the space that we're dealing with is going to get a little convoluted. I, of course, am going to pick the only correct word that you should possibly pick.
Okay.
It's the right word. The right word. So, what I'm going to do is, ahead of time in this rectangle, right, ahead of time, I'm going to kind of block in my letters, right? So just like before, really geometric. In case you're wondering, when we're done, they won't be geometric, but we're going to start there. I'm going to do all the legwork, all the hard stuff ahead of time, so that when I transpose it into my 1 point, it'll be really easy. Does not have to be perfect. Of course, we're freehanding this. You are welcome, if you're a little more anal retentive, you are welcome to grab a ruler and really make this nice and perfect. I'm not, so I'm not. So, the next step is I've got 4 letters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide this sheet into 4 slices vertically. But the key is this. Remember that you do not want to divide them perfectly evenly. Because as something goes away from you, again, it's going to get more and more condensed. Or just like with our Way Cool rug, right? It's going to get kind of closer and closer together. So they'll be wider up front and tinier behind, right? So I'll show you what I mean first, and then you guys can see. So my word has 4 letters, right? Now again, I'm eyeballing it. You can do math to totally figure out the actual width. And if you guys decide to do text in your final piece, please talk to me. I'm happy to teach that to you. But for the sake of this kind of quick demo here, I'm just going to kind of eyeball and say, okay, there's 1 maybe. Take it back. Let's see, 2. Notice how it's getting a little bit more narrow. And then 3 and 4. So obviously, the width of this one is going to be wider than the width of that one. And you can even really, if you have a lot of letters, you can really get like teeny tiny way back here, right? But again, that's why my word only has 4 letters. So depending on how many letters you have, go ahead and divide that many spaces. So I have 4 letters, so I added 3 lines, the space in between those letters. put on some tunes for you real quick.
I don't know if you saw this yet, but it's taking like 2 seconds to make.
Yeah, you showed it to me during our guild, or yesterday.
I put it on the, I didn't show it to you.
You did?
Jack might have.
Oh, Jack might have.
I wasn't there.
Yeah, that makes more
I couldn't
sense.
be.
I know the picture.
I was like, I was
Yeah.
Grandy.
Oh. Yeah, it's very funny.
Yeah, Jack showed it. Apparently Jack. I just like took like 4 seconds to make this.
Did you put it up online?
Yeah, I put it on the DeviantArt and I put it into like the feature on our group so that like everyone can see it in the school. That's
You need to go post it on social media, Facebook or Instagram or whatever. Like, get it.
Yeah.
It'll catch on. That's good.
Yeah, I'll probably start. I'll make another Instagram probably just like do all that, you know. Instead of just keep on because I don't really post online.
That's good. Okay, so I'm gonna do one letter for you, and then I'm gonna start drawing the rest, and then obviously you can do the same. Okay. So here we go. Using what I already know, again, we've done all the legwork over here. I've already, in essence, kind of blocked it in. We're just kind of squeezing it to fit in this perspective. So for my big letter P, and again, I'm going to do it this way here, like that, right? For my last letter P, because I'm reading this away, I'm going to kind of block this in. So I've already got kind of this square, so might as well just use that, right? Kind of drop it down. As if it's hot or mildly warm. Kind of etch that in a little bit. Now, anything that's going back in space, right? It's not going to go like that because that looks a little wonky junky. Instead, I'm going to bring it back to the dot, back to the dot. And that little bit of a skewing will make it look a little bit more realistic. Just like that. Okay? Go ahead and see if you can get your other letters hammered out. Does anyone have any other questions real quick before I move on? No? Okay. All right. So, at this point, like I said to you guys before here, remember that we want our letters to look like they're going back against the wall. So if you use this whole kind of space, let the trapezoid kind of do that work for you. I know a lot of you guys were kind of running into that problem. Where you were trying to do, if I extend this, you were trying to draw like the literal like letter in the thing. It doesn't work because it's just weird, right? Okay. So, eventually we are, I will tell you this right now, we are going to revisit this idea and we're going to talk about two-point perspective. It's a whole different concept. So what I'd like you guys to do, we've got ourselves about 20 minutes left in the day. So when you're done with this quick little in-class assignment, when you're done, then you're done for the day. You can pack up early if you'd like to. What I'd like you to do is basically on a fresh sheet of paper, I want you to start a brand new room. You can design it however you want to, but here's what it needs. You need to have at least one door. You need to have at least one window. And it can be on any of these walls or whatever the heck you want. You need one rug of some sort. One piece of furniture. So, I mean, if you're doing like a kitchen or something, an appliance would count. But I'll say like, fern. Okay? Because I can't, right. So we've got furniture. And let's do something else. Let's mix it up a little bit. One door, one window, one rug. Yeah, okay, we'll do one lamp. I love lamp. And
A fish.
good.
No, don't finish.
We'll do a fish in a bowl.
No.
Because I want a fishbowl. That's good. Okay, so you guys got it? So in your room, you have to have a door, a window, a rug, a furniture of some sort, or a fern, and a lamp of some sort. And it could be a tall lamp, short lamp, I don't care. And somewhere in your room, you have to have a fish in a bowl. That'll be fun. Okay? All right? Give that a go. If you guys have any questions, I will come around and help you guys out. But otherwise, when you're done, you're done. Thanks, guys.